Hi, welcome. I am Dr. M. Kamakshaya, a freelance software trainer as well as open source software evangelist and full stack developer. I've been creating a series of video casts on Python for data science and analytics. This is fifth video in the series. In my previous videos, I've dealt with a few concepts like basic and advanced data types and also control flow together with operators. In this video I'm going to extend my previous discussion that about advanced data types like tuples, list and dictionaries, because this discussion is cannot be limited to 5 or 10 minutes. We have more and more operations that can be. When we combine these advanced data types with control flow, it is possible for us to develop discussion for hours. Now when we combine this control flow like if statement and for loops with tuples, list and dictionaries, it is possible for us to do some advanced operations in data science and analytics. Now I would advise you to go to Python documentation related to data structures. This is a very interesting section. Let me roughly take you on the surface of this topic. Now we already discussed about the list. I also created a data variable called myList, and I explained how to play with a list using control flow like if statement and for loop. There are methods. I already used a method append. This method is used to get new incoming data or to increase the length of the list. And there are other methods like extend, insert and remove, something like pop and a clear index. You can just count, sort, reverse copy and blah blah blah. There are wonderful examples here like how to play with list. Suppose you have fruits like orange, apple, pear, banana, something like that. This count property will return how many of the elements are there. Suppose you leave this empty, then the total length of the data vector will be returned in the console. If you supply a name, then this particular list item in which we have fruits will count a number of instances that which will match with the name given inside the parenthesis. Like here we would like to count number of apples in the list. Now there are two such instances in our vector fruits. Now just like that, tangerine, there is no such instance. And index, you have banana index, this is the third one, 0 1 2 3. The banana index is the third one in fruits index, something like that. The fruits reverse, you can reverse, and now if you go back to fruits, then your name starts from banana, ends with orange, something like that. Now there is a concept called stacks. Suppose if you have some numbers in a stack, you can stacks have kind of properties like append and pop. The list by default is a stack. Now suppose you have a stack like this, and you can append it with 6 and pop a number with property pop, and then you have list. You can also process the list as queues, like the stacks and the queues are special data structures available from the Python. Like suppose you have from collections, you have a method called dequeue, and this is I came to know about this while I was watching one of the videos in IoT by one of the experts in one demonstration. This dequeue is I don't know whether it is called dequeue or deck. You can call deck in short. We have a queue which is decked with names Eric, John and Michael. Like you can use now the methods append and pop on collections. The queues, queue append Terry. Now the Terry gets into the list. Queue append Graham gets into the list. Now queue pop left, which means from left we are popping the elements. Which when we use the pop left, now the Eric disappear and the John, Michael, Terry, Graham appear. So that you can the first to arrive now leaves, which means that the Eric disappear. Now pop left, John disappear, and Q, now you have the Michael, Terry, Graham, something like this. These are called the queues. You can make use of deck from module collections. We have not discussed anything about the collections till now, so I'm not going to do this right now but you have to remember one important thing, that there are some methods like append and pop used on the stacks and queues. Now you have a wonderful concept called list comprehensions. This is a higher level activity in Python. We have to do many times. I mean, we will make use of this list comprehensions many times in our data while we perform the data analysis on the data variables. Now there is a small example here, squares, and this is an empty list. Now we are going to do a certain operation, and as a matter of that operation or the task, we are going to pass some values into the squares. How are we going to do that? There is a function called range. We can use the first statement. This x is a dummy variable which is an iterator for x for anything in range 10, which means 0 to 10. Square the values of x. So you can also use I here. So what happens is that a range is a range of values. Here the range 10 creates a variable. Now let me clear this. I will use 30. So like suppose if I use range 5, now I have the range of for I in range 5. Now print I. This is going to, so I have the values from 0 to, now I can also control the index of the range, like I can say instead of 5 I can say 1 to 5. Now print I. Now it starts with 1. Sometimes when we are processing the values such as multiplication, we cannot multiply, and some of the values that eventually leads to 0, something like that. Now the same kind of activity have been done here. So we do this squares. I create an empty list for I in range 10. Now square all the square append I square. So this is what we already discussed, that double star in our previous. Now what is there in the squares? We have the squares. Now the same activity can also be done using a couple of other ways. We can use a list comprehension. First I deal with list comprehension, then I'll go to the Lambda function. The same thing. We don't need to do 3 different tasks to achieve this. We can just do within a single go. We can make I to the power of 2 for I in range 10. Now see what's going to happen. Now SQ. Now the same thing. You have the same kind of, I'll change. Maybe you square is equal to I to the power of 2 I square for I in range 10. So this way we can create a variable sqr. Now you see same squares. The same activity can also be achieved with the help of Lambda function, and for that you need to use a couple of functions called map and lambda. There is also other function called reduce that we use in a different scenario. Reduce is used, I use reduce whenever I wanted to compute the sum of squares. It is a special case in statistics. Now let us do the squares. Lambda x, so any x which goes to this function is going to be the square. Lambda x square, and perform this lambda function on a range of 10. Now map the entire activity and provide it as a list, something like that. So squares, this time I delete square so that I don't have square now, so that you can believe me. Square is equal to list, okay, map. Now lambda. Now you see lambda converted into rose color x, and do square, and on what? Range 10. Now we have to check every open parenthesis must be closed. Now go back and see what is there in square. You have the same square. So we squared the values of range 1 to 0 to 10 in 3 different ways. First we use the list comprehension. First we use the for loop, and next we use the list comprehension. This list comprehension is really a blessing in disguise. and this is going to help us in many ways to do a couple of the two or three different activities within a statement. So that is why Python is cool. Now the same activity can also be done with I don't like this one, but sometimes we need to do this lambda function. We need to use this lambda statement, and this is a special function. Without writing a function, you can create a function inside a statement. That is actually the advantage of the lambda function. Sometimes we do need to use this in order to do certain kind of activities that which we cannot accomplish with the help of. And this lambda function many times used in higher level activities like creating a GUI kind of thing. You are assigning a particular calculation to a particular button. In such circumstances it can be used. Okay, this is some of the operations which we can perform on the list comprehension. And now we can also create the tuples from the list, and this is a small example for that. We call it as a combinations. Suppose you want to create the combinations. The classical way is to create a list, and then for x in some value a list, and for I in some values, if x is not equal to y. This is actually the condition inside the nested loop, and our comps is going to be appended with, because this is, since this is let be mindful, a tuple is immutable. Once you create a tuple, you cannot mutate the tuple, or you cannot change the tuple. Suppose I didn't discuss this in my previous video. Suppose if you have a tuple, this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Now tuple is something which is your Python returns with a rounded brackets or parenthesis. This is a tuple. Now suppose you want to do something, even for that matter, you cannot, a list is also immutable. You can't assign something 5 to the tuple. So the only way is t now is going to be t, 5. Now the t is there inside t. Okay, still t is there. You are not getting rid of the same fashion. Suppose if you have a list 1, 2, 3, 4, then you can't make like len of t is going to be 4. Now t4 is going to, I think you don't have t. Okay, t3 is going to be a value, the last value. And now suppose if I want to append this, the only way is append. Okay, append 4 will no 5 now gets into t. This is the way to append. The list is immutable, but there is a method append to change the values in list. But the same thing we can't do with tuple, because you don't have, now t is a tuple. Let's say t append 4. You can't do that. So a tuple is immutable, but a list is mutable. I'm sorry I said immutable, but a list is mutable. But we can change the elements inside a list with a method called append, and there are various methods to take care of. For that matter, we can bring changes in the list by using any one of the methods which are available from here. Like these are all the methods. Okay, now let us go back to our lecture. Now we have kind of other activities, nested list comprehensions. Here you have a matrix, and now for a row in matrix, for I in range 4, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, something like this. Range 4. Why you get 1, 5, 9? Okay, 1, 5, 9, 2, 6, 10, 10. Row I for row in matrix, for I in range 4. So this is actually, we are trying to transpose a matrix. Suppose if you have a matrix, you can transpose that matrix, the rows into columns, and columns into rows into the columns. Rows into the columns, columns into the rows, with the help of nested for loop, and in this way. Okay, here there is a small. This is actually the way we need to transpose the matrix. This is the classical way. So this list comprehension can be used in order to do the same activity on a matrix, something like this. You can just now I don't want to do that in. You can also use a function called zip in order to print the columns and transpose a matrix, something like this. You can use del method in order to del the elements in. Now there is a kind of data structure called sequence. Now this is actually neither a dictionary nor a, I mean it is it's actually kind of it is not a dictionary. So actually we create the dictionary by key value pairs. You can use heterogeneous data, like let me clear this. You can use heterogeneous data like words and integers together with float values and something. You can combine the key values without assigning the keys to keys and values to values, something like that. Suppose I say set, my set is going to be anything that goes into this. I can say name, something called age, and something called 23, and now something called the element, which is going to be the element. Now let's say the syntax. I think I cannot give you the key value pair. Anything without key value pair can be okay for. This is something like this. My set. That's good. We come to know. So my set. I don't know if I can go for 0. Yeah, I cannot go for 0. You can say print my set, something like that. You can print. Is it name in my set? That sorry. Is a name in my set. Now once mistake goes. That goes on and on. This is actually one of the, we have to enclose this in, yeah, true. Is it age in, same mistake I'm doing, age in my set? Yes. Sorry, the mistake goes on and on. I don't know what kind of problem I have. Now suppose if you have a list like this, 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. Now can we do the same thing? Is it okay? 1 comma 4 comma, what nonsense is this? You have apples, banana, and something orange. Now X type, it is list, right? Can we do this? Apples, is it in X? Yeah, it is true. So it is just like a set is something heterogeneous, but can we have a list of heterogeneous data? Apples, 24, and then name. Is it possible for us? I don't think it is. Yeah, it is going on. Is it? It is going on. So it doesn't matter whether you have a set or list, but both of them. You can also define set in this way. Okay, now you have the dictionaries. This we discussed already, and looping techniques for these dictionaries and everything. This is quite common. We already discussed all this. I just wanted to talk to you a particular concept, that mutability, immutability, or mute properties of the list and tuple, which I did in this video. If it is useful to you, press like button and stay tuned to the new content. Subscribe to my video channel. Thanks for watching.